A few short hours ago, people thought the world was coming to an end.
Now, we know we're getting into some heavy debris patterns. That's understood. This has just been found 2 days ago. They think it's an orbital asteroid. Right now, as close to Earth as it is, it's curving. It's coming closer than our moon.
Just a few short hours ago, people thought the world was coming to an end from Iowa to upper Michigan, because you can barely see it up there in the corner. There's a meteor shower. See the light? Look at that thing.
Oh, wow.
Wow. This is a YouTube video from a TV station up there, KWWL, in Iowa. And yeah, all kinds of 911 calls flooding in, people saying, wow, there's this huge bright fireball. What's going on? Again, they say it's a meteor shower. Awe-inspiring fireballs streaking through the sky. Sonic booms followed them. And conspiracy theorists everywhere ducking for cover.
That is pretty incredible, though. Look at that.
That
wow.
is crazy. How about that?
The cluster of impacts. The cluster of impacts will be very close to the changing of the sky.
Hey. Hey.
Well, most of the satellites, what they do is when they have an alert, if it had a destructive effect like it has a few times, and it barely shaved the Earth. When I say barely shaved, I'm meaning, 200 miles outside of the upper atmosphere, shaved the Earth, but it still had an effect because of the polarity. So they constantly measure this. As far as their magnetic influence, the magnetic field, yes, is weak, but as you get out in space, the properties of magnetism begin to alter. They do begin to alter. In fact, they increase exponentially as you begin to lose your atmosphere.
Hey. Hey.
The coldness of space actually intensifies the Earth's magnetic field the further you go out. So it can be one reading internally, which is very weak on the Earth's surface, but in space it could be extremely strong. Extremely strong. Remember, when they first went out in space with men, they made a mistake not having the Earth's magnetosphere replicated on the craft. So the second, the additional times they went out in space, they replicated the Earth's magnetic field in every craft that goes up. If not, the people go nuts. They go crazy.
Hey. Hey.
They lose functionality of their reasoning skills, and everything else is gone, and they revert back to this animalistic behavior. They lose functionality of their reasoning skills, and everything else is gone, and they revert back to this animalistic behavior.
Hey. Hey.
But we're going to see a cluster of impacts. Now, this is not pertaining to earthly wars and things, because there's a war forming, but as far as space is concerned, we're going to have a cluster of impacts we're going to have to entertain. We were doing some immediate tracking, and it could be here before May. Before May. The reason why they're not quite sure yet is because now we have objects in this cluster crashing into each other. You're looking at it now, as far as speed goes, you're looking at somewhat of a constant, but their vectors are changing, their trajectories are changing. It's like a pool table. I mean, they're going all over the place.
Hey. Hey.
Some will be spread out, some will concentrate, and so now it's a far worse scenario than I thought before.
Hey. Hey.
Because they're coming from, actually, they broke through the belts of rock that we have in our solar system. We have two. They just totally broke through those. The very dark objects behind them, too, but they're coming in our way. There's an outer asteroid belt, and there's an inner asteroid belt. In the outer one, it already broke through, is disrupting the secondary. See, when it dislodges these rocks, they're going all over the place.
Hey. Hey.
As it comes in towards the sun, there's no way we're going to be out of its path. That's the scenario we're looking at. We'll see it with Mars first. See, when Mars is hit, when they're hit, and that surface of that planet's obliterated, we're next. That means we're about a few days, maybe a week off. Then we get it. Or see, when these objects started crashing into each other, some slowed down, some sped up, and so they have to do what's called a retract on everything now. And believe me, that's some supercomputer crunching that's going on right now because it's really worrying everybody. So everybody's in a rush to get everything done, to get everybody accounted for and secure.
Hey. Hey.
They need people secure. Continuity of government is going to be a very hot topic.
Just a few short hours ago, people thought the world was coming to an end.
No, we're getting into some heavy debris. Right now, as close to Earth as it is, it's curving. It's coming closer than our moon.
Just a few short hours ago, people thought the world was coming to an end from Iowa to upper Michigan because you can barely see it up there in the corner. There's a meteor shower. See the light? Look at that thing.
Oh, wow.
Wow. This is a YouTube video from a TV station up there, KWWL.
Hey.
October 5th, Thursday, 12:15 Mountain Time, 2017. Story from the Daily Mail coming out of southwest China. Last night, as people were observing the full moon, 3 meteors went screaming across the sky within seconds of each other. In fact, here is a video of one of the meteors. Very large, probably considered a bolide, but it did turn night briefly into day. Very big, impressive meteor. And there were 3. So I went to the American Meteor Society, which is a great place to log your experiences. If you do see a fireball shooting star in the sky, come here. I'll post the link to this fine website in the description box. Share your experience. I know I can only speak for myself, but I use this as a way to detect what's going on in space. If there is no reports filed here, then we're not going to know if we're in a debris field. And like right now, we can kind of sense that from this report here. This is from last night. Shelley of Landers, California. Great job. She reported a fireball that she saw last night around, it's like 10:50 p.m. She said there were 2. There was a secondary fireball above the main one simultaneously, about 5 degrees above the main one. She said it was awesome, gave it a -27. That is the brightness value. -27 is as bright as the sun. If you look at the recent near-Earth objects, you can see a trend, especially over the last month, and it's still continuing. There are near-Earth objects coming in clusters, like the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yesterday there were 4 scheduled near-Earth objects that were known, and they weren't that close. Like the missed distance was 12 LD, which LD is a lunar distance, the distance between Earth and the moon. The closest yesterday was, it really wasn't even that close, 15 LD. On the 3rd, there was one that was 5 LD. So these were not that close at all. But that doesn't mean that these smaller fragments that did enter the atmosphere, that could have been the size of a basketball. Who knows? Maybe a dishwashing machine. But those could be smaller pieces of these clusters that weren't seen. It happens all the time. But what you don't see all the time is these things coming in pairs. And yesterday was actually a quad. There were 4. The first, there were 2. The second, there were 3. 1, 3. And then the 30th was 2. 29th was 2. And if you go back in time, you'll see that that trend does continue pretty much through the entire month of September. So a lot of action in the skies. And also, remember, out in New Hampshire, first part of the week, supposedly a meteor caused a fire up in the mountains, White Mountains of New Hampshire. I've gotten other emails from people that did say they saw action in the sky. They're not sure what it was that coincides with the time of that fire. So it very well could have been a meteor that fell from the sky that created that fire. And if that is the case, that's a big deal. So keep your eyes to the skies. If you guys do